And now for more on the future of government negotiations, now that Netanyahu has handed back the mandate, we have senior Middle East analyst from the International Crisis Group, Ofer Zalzberg. So the first question here is, what are Gantz's chances?
Gantz's chances appear to be very low. As you have said, his ability to reconcile Lieberman with the joint list seem unlikely. The ultra-Orthodox are that traditionally would have been kingmakers and were willing to swing from left to right are no longer there after their public shifted very much to the right. And they are afraid of payback in the next elections. And the only option that the Prime Minister is flagging, the notion of a minority government, seems to be unstable. There is opposition to it even within blue and white. So the odds seem grim for Mr. Gantz.
So it would mean that there would have to be some type of unity government formed, or we would essentially go to third elections, right?
Yes, correct. And the unity government would mean both leading parties, that is to say blue and white and the Likud, abrogating some of their commitments to their electorate.
Right.
Neither seems keen to do so. The one wild card is essentially whether the Attorney General is going to indict Netanyahu during the coming 28 days, and if so, for what? Specifically, will it be also for bribe? And perhaps this will change things in the system, though even that does not appear to be very likely.
So we talked about these 54 seats that, you know, the center-left party has with Gantz. But let's talk about the Arab Israeli voters. Many say that their huge voter turnout, which we saw, was one of the biggest in Israeli history, and it's what turned the tables for Netanyahu and the Likud party. Now, 10 out of the 13 seats of the Joint Arab List party have endorsed Gantz, of course, we all know that, but to gain the support of the right and Lieberman, he would essentially have to say no to them. You're not allowed to be part of this government because Lieberman is unwilling to sit with the Arabs, so are the right-wing parties. But then how would the Arab voters react to a scenario like that?
It seems that the Arab electorate is nevertheless first very content. They've already managed to do what was declared to be the main objective, which is to prevent Netanyahu from establishing a government.
Right.
And in this sense, against great skepticism among Arab voters in Israel, democracy in fact proved effective. Actually voting in spite of claims regarding the discrimination and so on, some of them with veracity, they see that it's effective. And in that sense, if there will be third elections, I think that voter turnout among Arabs will be even higher now that they see that they can have impact.
Right.
Secondly,
if they can become a part of the government, is what you're saying.
So there is a gap between the Arab voters, where according to polls, 3/4 are interested in the party, the joint list, entering a coalition, and the Arab MKs, none of whom expresses any desire to sit in a Zionist coalition.
Right.
So we are still there basically looking at whether a coalition could be established based on support from the outside by the joint list, rather than actually sitting inside. And even this, so far as we all know, Mr. Lieberman is rejecting.
Well, how is, you know, the Arab public reacting to this endorsement of Gantz, which it's very unique?
Absolutely. It's very unique, not least because Mr. Gantz took pride during his campaign of bombing Gaza and things that are not popular among Arab voters. And this seems to reflect mostly a change on the Arab side rather than on the Jewish side, meaning I don't think that Herzog and Livni had a very different platform than Mr. Gantz. And we see that a lot of it is because of the way that the right-wing government, the last one, has been inciting against Arabs in Israel, basically characterizing their mere participation in the vote as a problem. And they have rallied against it. And in this sense, we are seeing them basically saying that one has to engage, that boycotting and ending all contact is not effective.
Right.
And they would like to influence from within.
Well, speaking about being effective, how do you make sure that 20% of the Israeli population, which is this Arab Israeli population, is accounted for in a government that doesn't necessarily have much of an Arab representation? Will that actually challenge the state's Jewish identity or promote diversity?
Yeah, that's a very big question. Simply put, because they are not yet talking about being within a coalition, that coalition will still likely be along Zionist lines. And what we've seen also in the past is that they will condition their support on specific policies, and specifically policies regarding Arabs in Israel, redressing discrimination, dealing with illegal firearms among Arabs, and renewing a political process aimed towards ending the Israeli control of the West Bank, of the occupation. And in this sense, it's not about diluting Israel's identity and challenging it altogether. They are demanding to revoke the nation-state law And those who think that Israel was not a Jewish and democratic state before that basic law was instated would claim that this does challenge the identity.
Well, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what plays out here with Gantz being given the mandate. But thank you so much for joining us.
Glad.